The 7 secrets you need to know to keep a winning migraine diary in your long-term disability insurance claim. Look, disability insurance carriers hate subjective medical condition claims like migraine claims. They will demand objective evidence of the diagnosis when none can be had, because there really is no gold standard diagnostic study to determine whether or not you have migraines. But they're also going to demand objective evidence of your restrictions and limitations, which of course is going to be predicated on your subjective symptoms and how those subjective symptoms limit your ability to perform the material and substantial duties of your occupation. Now, there is not necessarily a functional capacity evaluation or a physical test that you can take to document the existence of the migraine, much less how to quantify your symptoms and the impact those migraine symptoms have on your ability to function. But one of the tools that I use successfully is a migraine diary. Now, the diary is going to help your doctor render an opinion about your restrictions and limitations that prevent you from performing your own and your any occupation. I'm often asked, what should you document in a winning migraine diary? And I will tell you what I think the secrets are. The disability carrier wants to know what your symptoms are daily, how long they last, what you do to try to control or reduce the symptoms, what side effects that you have with medication, and how these symptoms or treatment impact your ability to function. And the 7 secrets, in my view, to keeping that winning migraine diary are the following. Keeping in mind what I just said. You want to have a documentation or record keeping tool, and I think the best way to do that is a paper diary or getting an app like Migraine Buddy or iHeadache. If you aren't sure, ask your doctor what they recommend, because they may actually want a copy of it. Number 2 is keeping time. You want to document when you had warning of the symptoms or the onset of the migraine, when the migraine actually began, how long the migraine lasted, whether you had a post-migraine hangover, and how long that lasted. The third thing I think you want to document is what you were doing at the time of the onset. Now, why? Because sometimes we can see patterns of activity or things that you may do that will cause the migraine, and we want to understand that onset. The fourth thing we want to talk about are the triggers. Now, the triggers could be loud noises, flashing lights, bright lights. They're among the recognized triggers, but I think that each person has different triggers, and they can vary from migraine episode to episode. So there's no discrete triggers, but there are discrete triggers for your particular situation, and the carrier needs to understand that. Now, you want to document your symptoms. What were your initial symptoms? How did they progress, and how did the medication impact your symptoms? I don't want you to forget those post-migraine symptoms that can wipe you out. I've had migraines in the past, and I feel like I've been run over by a truck, and that's just as debilitating as the headache. Next, number 5 is medication. Record what medication you were taking before, during, and after the migraine, including vitamins and supplements. Don't forget to log the dosage of the medication and any side effects that you have from the medication. I want you to comment on the effectiveness of the medication in preventing the migraine or minimizing the impact of the migraine. Number 6, we want to talk about the impact of your symptoms on your functionality. After all, that's the key. You've got the burden to prove that you have met the plan or policy definition of disability. And the starting point is to understand the definition of occupation. Why? Because we have to prove that you can't perform the material and substantial duties of your occupation, so we want to work backwards. So if, for example, your policy or plan defines occupation as the occupation you were doing for your employer, write down what the material and substantial duties are of that occupation. Next, write down the symptoms that interfere with or prevent you from doing those duties. We want to connect the two. Now that you have a guide as to what your symptoms are, you should be creating a record for each migraine and how those symptoms might have changed in the course of the migraine, and as that has happened, how it's impacted your functionality. Again, we want to tie together symptoms and functionality. What is it about these symptoms, or how did these symptoms prevent you from performing the material and substantial duties of your occupation? And if you're not working, how they prevent you from doing activities of daily living. So you might want to use examples of daily living that have been impacted and would prevent you from doing things around your house. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that you rate the pain on a scale of 1 to 10. Disability carriers will always say that your pain couldn't be a 10, or that your symptoms aren't as bad as you claim, and therefore there's no correlation between your pain rate. And number 7, have your lawyer review these before you send them to your doctor, because your doctor wants to see them, or the disability carrier. Keeping a diary can help you, and it can hurt you if you say the wrong thing. Your doctor is going to rely on that diary in rendering opinions about your diagnosis and your restrictions and limitations. So the diary has got to document the right things in the right way. Your migraine diary has to be consistent with the activity of daily living forms that the disability carrier is asking you to complete. If not, you can be setting yourself up for surveillance because of this discrepancy between what's in the pain diary and what's in your activity of daily living. Carriers love to deny claims on the basis that you've said one thing about your migraine symptoms and functionality in your medical records, another in your migraine logs and diary, but that the surveillance film shows something completely different. And they're going to argue that that surveillance film is an accurate picture of your symptoms and functionality. So you want to have your lawyer reviewing your diary and your medical records for this consistency. I've represented hundreds of people who have had migraine headaches, and I know firsthand the fight with a disability carrier to get the disability benefits you deserve. Call me today at 727-894-3188 for a complimentary consultation. I can help you get the disability benefits you deserve. After all, I have been a migraine sufferer, and I understand what the toll is of a migraine headache and how it can make it impossible and difficult to work and to live your life. Call me today at 727-894-3188 for a complimentary consultation.